Sorry, this will be edited out of the.
Yeah.
I
I
just.
like no, I like this long pregnant pause. We
Yeah.
should just leave.
If you want Hi there, and welcome to Honest Jams, the songwriting podcast in which two friends are sure to become famous from their idea to write a new song each week and discuss it on the air. I'm Walker.
I'm Al.
And today we have a guest I'm so excited about. She's a writer, storyteller, comedian. I'm sure I'm going to discover some more facets in this conversation. All around badass, Hannah Kim. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, how are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. Yeah.
So we first became acquainted with you when you were co-hosting the late night special variety show we do here in Portland. And I didn't even know at the time that you played music or were learning an instrument or anything like that. So that was an exciting element to the multifacetedness. So I'm curious to get into how you came into songwriting and playing music.
Yeah. Like songwriting's been pretty new for me. And so when I was doing late night special, I wasn't, it probably wasn't until like later, much later on that I was getting into it. But it was really cool to see you at late night special, actually, like playing drums and everything like that. I feel like that was really inspiring for me. Yeah, I grew up playing like piano, things like that. And then I was in like choirs and stuff in like high school and did voice lessons and things in college.
Did you love choir? I just personally had such a great time in choir.
Choir's fun, yeah. We did musicals and I was in Cats and Phantom of the Opera in high school.
Nice.
We had a very ambitious choral department. So,
were you like passionate about pursuing music, or was it just kind of something you did?
It was just something I did. Like I feel like I've always felt so much imposter syndrome around music. And so I was like, even for choir, it's like in high school when I joined choir, I was like, am I even good at singing? You know, because there's people who are so into it, who've been doing it for so long. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm even good. Yeah. And then I took guitar lessons in college and then I quit because I was like, I'm not good at this. Like, this is too hard. And so I feel like I was always sort of like, this is too hard. Like, I don't like it. And I didn't like how I was being taught. Yeah, so I feel like it's only really recently that I've been like, no, I feel like I can do this. I feel like I'm good at this.
What was it? Was it other people around you that kind of you were comparing yourself to that was demotivating, or you just felt like you weren't good enough in some way or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like it was a lot of things, like definitely comparing, because like, for example, at my high school choir, people who did choir had been doing it for years. And then I sort of joined late in the game because I auditioned for a musical as a dancer because I have a little bit of a dance background. And so I joined, like, I did the musical as a dancer and then I auditioned for choir the next year. And so everybody, like, people kind of explicitly made me feel bad about that, or they're like, you're a dancer, you're not a singer. And then there's just like things around that. And then I remember like we had to like individually sing in front of everybody in one of the things, and I didn't do that well. And so I think that reinforced people's belief that I wasn't good and that I was only allowed to join because I was a dancer. So just think like little things like that. And then I think just the larger thing of like the kind of music that I like and listen to has been so dominated by a certain type of person, namely like, you know, the cis white man. And so I feel like I never felt like, I was never like, oh yeah, this is something that I could do or like practice or, you know, try in capacity.
But you had a level of skill just built up just as a result of having kind of dabbled in it throughout your childhood. But then how did you like decide you wanted to do this?
I mean, I'm still such a beginner with everything I'm doing now, but yeah, it is helpful to have a little bit of like a background, you know, where I can like read music. I have like a basic understanding of music theory and things like that. But I feel like I read The Artist's Way.
Mhm.
Have y'all read that?
Yeah. Julia
I
Cameron.
need to. I need to.
It's
That's the, is that the Morning Pages thing?
Yeah, Julia Cameron.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. But it basically, they were saying like people often will find themselves in relationship with people who are artists, or like in art adjacent careers because they actually want to be an artist. And that really like hit me because my last relationship was with someone who was a musician, and he was in a band and he was a guitarist. And then I just had this like awakening where I was like, oh, like I want to do that. It's not like I want to date somebody. I mean, like that's fine too if we're both doing it, but it's not like I'm just trying to like date someone and be like a fan. It's like I just had this like moment where I was like, I want to do that. So it was sort of like a dream deferred for me for a long time where I was like, I should pick up guitar again. I should do this again. And it just felt so insurmountable, like my doubt. And then that was a big, like that helped me kind of shift my perspective of being like, no, I can do this too. And also just realizing that no one knows what they're doing, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, why not me? Like no one knows what they're doing. I might as well just do it and figure it out.
There's plenty of examples of people that didn't know what they were doing, quote unquote, you know, but were just expressing themselves, and then everybody else loved it. Like, you know, technical skill is not a measure of quality, you know?
Exactly. And I really like that about y'all's podcast, is that you're very like encouraging of just like the creative process and like leaving it very open-ended, like what a song is, you know, like what that means, you know, of it being like, you know, an expression. And I feel like lack of technical skill can actually be like a benefit in a lot of ways because it like lets you see things in a new way. And so, yeah, I just try to approach it like that instead of feeling like I need to like have this and this under my belt, you know, because even like I do improv comedy and like it's the same thing with anything. Like people will be like, oh, I could never do improv. I could never do comedy. I'm like, yeah, you could. You're very funny. You could easily do it. But it's like when you're not in it, it seems so insurmountable. But then when you're actually doing it, you realize like, oh, no one knows what they're doing. Anybody can do this. You just have to like try and like apply yourself.
And you gotta suck.
Yeah, you have to be, for sure.
I am so guilty of that at Curious, where we both work at the Improv Theater. Is a lot of the players ask me, oh, you should get into it. Come do our warm-ups. I did a few, and I'm just like, I'm going to let the pros just go ahead and do this because it's scary to like mess up so publicly. And there's something about the timing of it. I mean, even songwriters, you could be highly skilled at songwriting and just have insane stage fright, you know, like there's something about just being on the spot in front of people that's like electrically charged and exciting, but just terrifying about improv.
Yeah.
So
especially improv where it's like I mean, I'm sure as you get more and more like deep in it, you are able to censor yourself more, but I feel like the point is to just let a flow happen, you know? So if you kind of fuck up, it feels like the core of you fucked up because you're just like in the flow of it, and you know what I mean. So it's like publicly
I
shame.
totally know what you're saying because it's like it's you, like it's not like you painting something or it's like you so you're like, oh, my views or like my opinion on this is wrong because this is what came out, you know, when I was just relaxed. I feel like that kind of thing is actually like the thing about improv too that's really cool is that like mistakes become integrated into improv, you know. And I think like I listened to Stacey's episode and I think she touched on this a little bit too, but just like a mistake is something that can become the game of the scene if you integrate it instead of rejecting it. If you're like, okay, that was a mistake, like we call each other by the wrong name or something, that's like a technical mistake, but then you're like, oh, that's the game now or whatever. And so I think that's something I kind of like try to bring to all the creative things I'm doing now, where it's like it's okay to make a mistake. It's like that can become the thing actually, which is really empowering. So I feel like that's like a fun aspect of improv to bring in.
Yeah. So when you say you got back to songwriting recently, how recently are we talking about?
Probably like a couple months ago.
Oh shit.
Like I was learning, like I picked up guitar again last year, but then I was mostly just like learning other songs and like trying to learn like how to cover them. And then only a couple months ago, the first song I wrote, a couple months ago, I started writing it because I just played the wrong chords. Like I was trying to practice a cover that I was working on, which is the cover I did with you, Walker, that one time. Yeah, so I like played the chords wrong and I was like, this kind of sounds cool. And so then I just started writing my own song based on that incorrect chord progression. So yeah, that was a couple months ago, earlier this year.
Nice.
Yeah, I just, I basically wrote like a verse and a chorus and then it just kind of like sat on the shelf for a long time. And like I played with other people, like, you know, like kind of tried to work with other people on it. And then recently it's like kind of picked up steam again. And so now I have it like structured out. But the song structure thing is something I'm still like really like thinking about, and like thinking about from two angles, where it's like good to have information, and in some ways it's good to not know anything, because then you just like do weird things. Like with that song specifically, it's like I have like a tempo change and like a key change, like, you know, or just like I'm using chords that aren't in the key, and it's because I just didn't know. I was like, this is just what I'm like, this is just what I'm doing. It just sounds cool, and it's just kind of like fun like that too. And I feel like people I've worked with who have a lot more experience than me, they have commented on that being it's interesting and like new because you didn't know what you were doing. So yeah, just trying to balance that.
What do you think, what motivated you to kind of go back to music in this way?
You know, like, I don't know, I feel like maybe a lot of people have this kind of thing of like that dream deferred, you know, being like, this is something I want to do, but I don't know. So I feel like that's what music has been for me, you know, like for years, like the past couple of years of just being like, I want to do this, but I don't know. And so I think it was always sort of lingering, and then just like the artist's way, like just little things like me like believing in myself more as an artist in other areas of my life, like writing and comedy, and like the other things that I'm doing like also helped me to feel like I could actually do it. So I think it was a lot of little things that sort of added up and made me feel more confident.
Are you motivated by the idea of performance, or is it more about kind of like creating songs for yourself, or just creating songs like recorded music? Or
I think it's both performance and recording that I want to do. And it's like, you know, I perform in terms of comedy and like my writing and other things like that. So it's like I really enjoy performing, and so yeah, I definitely want to perform, because there's something about like live audience, you know, where you can feel like with comedy you can like feel people responding, and I'm sure it's similar with music too, like that energy is so palpable. So I really like that. And then recording is really, and I really like recording too. That I've been doing more recording lately, and that's been really interesting, where it's like just opening. I was listening to this in y'all's last podcast about how recording, I'm just going to be referencing different episodes. Well, like in podcast number 4, when this happened, yeah, but y'all were talking about, no, it was with the bad movie one. You were talking about how recording like opened up the person's eyes, like the guest's eyes. And I feel the same way, where it's just been really interesting. It's just like a different skill set, and it's just been like really changing how I approach music. Because before that, it was just like me playing guitar by myself in my room with my amp, you know, just like me by myself. And then like recording and work with other people is just like really interesting. But yeah, anyway, so to your question, like I want to do work on both of those aspects.
Cool. Well, we're excited to see what you recorded. You sent us a lot of stuff. But before we have this little segment that we do about the topic.
What does the internet say on the topic of the day? And if it's wrong, you can let us know by using the internet too.
Well, what the internet is saying this week, or screaming rather, is more political. At least my feed personally is a giant wake-up call to look at the country, especially directed toward white America, which hasn't known the truths that Black people especially have known for a long time and have had to deal with. And so it's just been a very intense, politically charged weeks watching the protests unfold, and thinking about fame. There are, like, the last few Black Americans that I have come to know their story, it's been because of tragedy. And, you know, that's awful. I mean, it's good for people to wake up and know what's going on, but it's just another sad fact in that fascist system that we have, that we need to change, that we need to realize that we're all responsible for. So that's kind of colored some of my research this week. But I thought naturally, I figured this would be a good time to highlight a few Black inventors who should be more famous than they are.
Okay. Because
they invented some devices that are in use today by people that we're all benefiting from. And I have some gaps. These people might be completely famous, and you all might, everyone else might know this info. I'm missing some gaps in history from being homeschooled.
Yeah.
But I'm also missing some gaps in history knowledge from being public schooled. So we're, you know, I worry about that sometimes. But, you know, people who weren't homeschooled are like, oh no, we never learned any of that.
Yeah.
So every day is a school day. So we're going to learn about who invented the home security system, which was co-invented by Mary Van Britten Brown in 1966. She lived in Queens, and her husband was gone at nights, and it was a pretty dangerous area. Back then, there weren't security systems on houses. It just wasn't a thing. So she took matters into her own hands and invented a device.
Was it the bucket with the
It
above
wasn't.
the door?
No, it wasn't as cartoonish as that. It was a system that used a camera that could slide into and look through 4 peepholes in the front door. Then the camera's view would appear on a monitor in her home, so she could survey anything going on outside. She added features to the system, including a microphone to speak to anyone at the door, a button to unlock the door, a button to contact police, as unreliable and unresponsive as they were. She and her husband took out the patent for the system that year. They were awarded the patent 3 years later in 1969.
Nice.
Yeah, she
Smarty.
had a problem and solved that. Amazing. The next one, I have 3 here. The second one is the carbon light bulb filament.
Okay.
And even in my limited
Sounds useful.
schooling, I know that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but what I didn't
think
know,
there is a controversy over.
that may be
Yeah.
a contentious point, and I don't have anything to say on that matter, but I did learn in this research that the filaments that were used before Louis Latimer invented the carbon light bulb filament in 1881, before that, filaments were made out of like bamboo and other things that just didn't last. So light bulbs would just burn out in a couple days. I had no idea. I thought it went straight from like candle to LED. No. Latimer was the son of runaway slaves, and he began in a patent law firm after serving the military for the Union during the Civil War. He was recognized for his talent drafting patents and was promoted to head draftsman, where he co-invented an improved bathroom for railroad trains. His successes would garner him further attention from the U.S. Electric Lighting Company, which was a competitor of Edison's company. And while he was there, Latimer patented the new filament. The addition of the carbon filament increased the lifespan and practicality of the bulbs, which previously had died, like I said, just after a few days. So I'm
Top
just
of the
kind of
ranks.
surprised that I don't know the name Louis Latimer.
Yeah.
And finally, we have the 3-light traffic light,
Oh.
which apparently used to just be a stop and go. So Garrett Morgan is responsible for that yield portion of the sign. This is back in 1923. With only an elementary school education, Garrett Morgan came up with several significant inventions, including an improved sewing machine and gas mask. So I got to read more about this guy anyway, because he's inventing left and right. However, one of Morgan's most influential inventions was the improved traffic light. Without his innovation, drivers across the nation would be directed by a 2-light system, which was much more dangerous. Morgan became the first black person in Cleveland, Ohio, to own a car, thanks to his successes of his other inventions. And as a motorist, he witnessed a severe car accident at an intersection in the city. In response, he decided to expand on the current traffic light by adding the yield and warning oncoming drivers of an impending stop. He took out the patent for the creation in 1923, and it was granted the following year. So Garrett Morgan, 1923, safer traffic light.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what the internet said.
All right. Should we hear some songs?
Let's do it.
Okay.
What did you make this week? What did you make this week? Tell us all about it. 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 Tell us all about it.
Hannah Kim, you want to go first?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
see, I just called you Hannah Kim. Every time Walker talks about you, she always says Hannah Kim. You're both names kind of person for some reason. Do you get that a lot?
I am. People have said that to me before.
Yeah.
They've said I'm a firsty laster.
Yeah. First thing, laster. Nice.
That's the technical term for this.
What you sent us a bunch of things. What do you want to start with?
So the song I wrote for the prompt is called Fame.
Okay. Is there anything you want to tell us about it before we listen to it?
No,
Okay.
let's just hear it,
Cool.
see what happens.
All right.
Won't you know
my God, double bass. I'm so on board immediately. Wow. I don't know why I was just expecting like guitar and vocals only. I had no idea it was going to be just like this whole thing. Like what was the order of the tracks? How did you make that?
It started with just like me and guitar, and then two people helped me with it. So Mike Whitman helped with bass, and then also backup vocals and guitar. Like as we went, we just like kept adding more things.
Nice.
And then Mateo Mangas helped with drums. And so it started with just guitar, my vocals. And originally I layered my own vocals. So I had like several harmonies of my own voice. And then like as we went on, like Mike added vocals because it sounded better, because it was just really different from what I was originally envisioning. And then we added bass, and then I just had GarageBand drums in there for a while, and then, so it just kind of kept going from there.
You just recorded it on your computer into GarageBand?
I have an interface, so I recorded it through that, but yeah, into GarageBand.
And like drums just like in your bedroom or something, or what?
Mateo recorded drums. I'm not exactly sure
you recorded
what his
them. Okay,
setup was. Yeah.
So you sent them the files, and then they recorded stuff back for you. Yeah, and just going. That's been really interesting. Like the quarantine of like recording things has been really interesting. Like how to communicate with people about like, this is what I want. So it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of like changing things, but yeah.
And then it turned into a proggy epic.
I know, that really hit your prog.
I did love it.
Included the demo 1, and it's like a couple seconds, but that's literally like my first like take on it.
Cool, let's hear that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's literally just a couple seconds, but yeah, that's like what I was thinking in my head, and then it ended up becoming a much more layered like thing.
And then so I have a couple other.
Yeah, we can play the segment. It's just yeah.
So just like a more complete idea, kind of.
Yeah, that's when like the chorus part kind of came in, and yeah, those are just on my phone, like me just like recording on my phone and playing guitar, just to like hear it. And yeah, the tempo was different too initially, and like the melody and like where the cadence was with the words, and so that just sort of evolved over.
Were you writing guitar and lyrics at the same time? Okay.
Yeah. In another, to reference a podcast episode earlier again, there's an episode where y'all talk about like how you just mouth, like you just like say things and they become words, like the rhyme. So that's sort of what I did too. Like I started with a couple concepts that I wanted to explore in the lyrics, and then just sort of like, yeah, it just sort of changed. But this one doesn't have a lot of lyrics anyway, so it was pretty quick.
Yeah. And then there's a third demo here too.
Oh yeah, yeah. We could just listen to like a couple, like maybe like 30 seconds of it is enough, because it's like the rest is not necessary.
So that was the earlier drums.
Yeah, that was just GarageBand drums, just like to have a reference point. But yeah, that's when we first put it into like GarageBand. It wasn't just in my phone. And yeah, that was my own vocals, like my own harmonies, and the tempo was also faster, and I was getting like stalled out, and then when I changed the tempo and made it slower, I was like, oh, this is like actually where the direction needs to go, like, it was just weird, but yeah.
Feel is everything. Sometimes it's just like you write a good song, but it just doesn't feel right.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
Can we hear some more of your creations before we go on to our fame songs? Because you sent multiple ones, right?
Yeah, totally.
So what else do you want to share with us?
We can do Last Time is another one.
Cool. So is this a finished demo, or is it a work in progress, or?
I think it's pretty finished. Is anything ever finished? No.
That's the question.
Not when you have access to tinker with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I get really bad about like obsessing over it, but I think it's pretty done.
I think that's why.
Hopefully, yeah.
Mastering with music, I think, is that step where, I mean, you can always go back even if you master it or whatever, but like I think that's the point where I get usually where it's like, all right, this is the song that I'm committing to,
Yeah, totally. If y'all like it, it's basically finished. If you don't like it, it's still a work in progress.
I'm not taking that responsibility.
This will be the last time
time I said these words to you, when it's all said and done, you know I feel so brand new. I didn't know any better, I was young. What's your excuse? This will be the last time, this time it's true. Don't play with me, I hate to lose, don't you know about me? I'm so fucking stupid too. Suits me much better. It's not easy being better. You try, say it suits me much better. It's not easy being better.
Love it.
Yeah.
Classic 60s vibe. Then you had 70s on the Fame song. It's great.
So how does it feel to be sharing songs? Do you share these much with people?
Mostly just with my friends. I
Yeah.
think all my friends are probably like my close friends. Hello, if you're listening to this. Thank you for listening to everything I send you. Yeah, but it's weird. Like, it's weird to be listening to it like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's definitely, I'm like, it's kind of scary. But yeah, just mostly with friends right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a weird artificial environment to listen to your own music with other people. It's not quite
Yeah.
like, it's not a very natural, you know, like usually when your music is presented in front of other people, it's because you're like performing it, not because you're all
Right.
sitting there listening to it. And then there's one more song that you sent us to?
Yes. Yep. Oh, also for that one, Ryan Crump was on the drums and Mike Whitman was doing bass. Just want to shout them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one was just that one's definitely a work in progress, but we also don't have to listen to everything I sent. I just wanted to have options.
I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop this train now.
Yeah.
Let's hear
Let's keep it
let's hear
going.
the next one. You've been busy in the quarantine.
It's Just Say You're Sorry.
Just say you're sorry. I won't tell anybody. Just say you're sorry. We don't gotta tell nobody. Just say you're sorry.
So I'm curious, is there something that you would credit as like what kind of has gotten you past this imposter syndrome thing and like willing to just create stuff?
To shout out The Artist's Way for the third time.
Yeah.
The Artist's Way for
Okay,
sure.
that's-
And I think just I do tarot as well, and like tarot is all about like it's an intuitive practice, so trusting your intuition. And so I feel like that all that kind of stuff. I quit my job, like my marketing job, last April. It's been a little over a year, and then I feel like there's just been a lot of shifts in my life where I've been like trusting myself, believing in myself, and honoring like the uniqueness of what I can bring.
Yeah.
Rather than always being like I have to be like this or be, like it's like there'll always be people who are better at you at literally everything you can ever do. So
For sure.
there's no point in trying to be the best. Just like I feel like I have a unique perspective because I'm who I am. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that with us.
Yeah, that was so fun to hear all that. You got an album. You're officially a triple threat now. Have you thought about making videos for it? I mean, you can
Ooh, yeah.
dance and act. You could just be a one woman.
There you go, media team.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've actually like really thought about, not for the other ones, but for the Sorry song, which it's still in its like inception. I literally just like did it like a couple days ago, but I've actually thought extensively about a video for that for some reason. Like for some reason that I can like see it in my head. I'm like, there's like a specific vibe that I'd be interested in capturing visually.
Yeah, do it.
Maybe I'll do that in quarantine.
I would love if you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that Walker, you had a video in quarantine, right? Like when your band had a video.
Yeah. Talking to Johnny made one where
Yeah.
we all three of us just filmed us do it. We kind of came up with a loose concept, and then we all just filmed on our phones and sent it to the singer, and then she edited it together. So
Yeah,
it was
that
fun.
was
I mean,
really
it was
cool.
about being in quarantine, so it was like it made sense that it looked all DIY and just darkly lit in your home. But it was really
Totally.
fun. It was very fun, like just being a tornado through. I've been doing more filming here lately, and just being a tornado through the house, setting up the sets, and then you come through to clean it up, and you're like, oh my god, I don't remember any of this.
No,
It's like a creative blackout.
Cool. You want to get into your song?
Oh yeah, I'll go next.
Yeah,
Sure. So we have new roommates, our friends that moved in, and I
Mhm.
think it's surprising to them because they listened to the podcast before. I think it's surprising to them how much I'm willing to just like spend an entire day on a song. So a lot of times like I'll save it till the last day or two, but
Yeah.
I'll just cram it.
Yeah.
And this one it took more time than usual. I was a little less able to just be like, brah, there you go, So the concept for it was about Guinness Book of World Record winners. And initially I was looking at
The famous of fame.
Yeah. Just like I had a few concepts. I was thinking like people who got famous who didn't mean to, or people who like just died in pursuit of their goal, but then they did kind of reach their goal by making the record. But that was just too sad. It was very sad. There was like a guy who wanted to do the most cycling around the world, and he had a 5-year plan, and he was like in the last year, and then he was struck by a truck. It's just like it's too it was so I was like, no, get out of here. So I ended up doing like
At least he died doing what he loved.
right. I did a more lighthearted thing, which is just an overview of the silly stuff that we give out awards for.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, the song's called Record Breaker. Just named it like 10 minutes before the show.
The acts we wore are endlessly broad. If it can be outdone, you can win it. The world's tallest hat and the most walnuts smashed by nunchucks in under a minute. Most expensive dessert and the biggest group twerk and the largest swimwear parade, all levels to play. Gotta make some mark for life to be known. We're speakers as much as we're listeners. we gotta keep tabs. Who's the most tattooed man? We gotta test our stuff. With the highest pogo jump, we gotta prove our might. With the biggest pillow fight, gotta make some mark for life to be known. We are speakers as much as we're listeners. It would break our hearts to abandon the hope of one uncovering the trail that existed here. And we like to bestow trophies on those who can type fastest by note. Gotta make some mark for life to be known. We are speakers as much as we're listeners. It would break our hearts to lay down the hope of one discovering the trail that existed here. And the longest kiss between two sets of lips, fastest speed so far by jet propelled go-kart. And the longest kiss between two sets of lips, the brightest light to illuminate the night.
Aw.
Can't remember if we've done any fade outs on our songs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Thanks. It was all
I
made.
love it. It was so beautiful.
Thank you. It was all made of weird Guinness Book World Records that
Yeah.
people do, except the brightest light to illuminate the night at the end. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
needed. I just needed a
Something
thing.
poetic.
I didn't have any like I sounding rhymes, but some of the
I can see why that would take a while. It's kind of like when we did the musicals thing and I had like source material that I wanted to use. It's like to find the exact source material that works for your song is like,
Yeah, I just basically wrote down a bunch of wacky ones and then paired up ones that rhyme. And there's a lot of stuff I couldn't fit in, like the most consecutive pull-ups done by Pinky, the heaviest weight lifted by Beard, fastest half marathon pushing a pram. And then there's some kind of dumber ones, like the most toilet seats broken over someone's head in a minute.
right, like those ones are just manufactured for one person.
Yeah, so it's a lot of it was just like kind of poking fun at how frivolous this stuff is.
Yeah.
It was sort of like an overall view, like if aliens came to this planet and we're like, oh, they celebrate when they break toilet seats over their head. Like, okay.
This must be an important human ritual.
Right. I have access now to a custom baritone ukulele. Which was a gift to our musical family of friends.
Yeah.
And it is so fun. Like for years, I've just played like, you know, the entry level, like with baritone ukuleles. I'm not sure about any other types, but with baritones, it's like there's an entry level one you can get for like 100 to 150 bucks. And then after that, it's like 1,000.
Custom.
Like, yeah, there's no like, I want to spend like $400 and get a real night, you know? So I've just absolutely astonished. I'm just so excited that I get to use this. So I'm like, okay, it has to be perfect, you know, for representing the first thing
song.
recorded by this beautiful custom
Nice. You did it
ukulele.
justice. Yeah.
I really like the contrast between the sound and the lyrics, you know, like it sounds like really beautiful. Like it's like Peter, Paul and Mary kind of vibes. And then you have lines like biggest group twerk. It's just really, it's like a cool, I like it when that happens.
Yeah, like very Crosby, Stills, Nash Young kind of vibe.
Juxtaposition.
So yeah, it's just been incredible having this custom made ukulele from a ukulele builder in Eugene named Eric Wickland from Little Timber Ukulele. Incredible. Getting a new instrument, isn't it so fun?
Yeah. Talk about inspiring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's something you have to, like a really complicated synthesizer, you have to like read a manual to figure out.
Right.
But yeah. Cool. So I assume that was just kind of written with
Just written
the
with the
uke in hand.
ukulele. Yeah. What came to me first.
There's some like more lyric driven stuff, like the second verse, right, has kind of like a little bit of a shift in the progression.
Yeah, I ended up just having to throw some different random progressions in there wherever the lyrics took me. But initially, and I will say, like, the reason it's in that key is so that I could play like kind of a bass line on the baritone. You know, there's an open string there, which means that I wouldn't have been able to put it in another key without a capo. And I don't want to muzzle this beautiful uke with a capo.
Yeah.
So I just like had to figure out how to sing it that high. You know, I should have made a demo of me chirping out the very beginning.
It doesn't sound too high for your voice.
But well, I worked it out, but there were some ugly sounds for a little while. I did send you a demo of like the melody for the hook, which I had before I had the lyrics or even the concept for it. So that was it. That was the first idea, and then it was like, how do I put a whole song around that?
Cool. Great song.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Should we get to mine?
Yes. What did you make?
So I was talking with a friend of mine just around all this Black Lives Matter stuff, and she was talking to me about how she was just like unpacking her idea of fame, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect fodder for a song.
Oh yeah.
She was talking about just how important it is for people like her that have privilege to recognize that like they're the ones that have to make sacrifices in order for equality to exist, you know? And so like her kind of conception of even what her life, like what she was entitled to in her life, was shifting. And she was kind of combating that, you know, like that like white fragility or whatever, where it's like, you know,
the defensive-ness, where you're like,
feel
no,
like you
I earned
should be,
this. I deserve all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this one became about. It's called Do You Want It Enough?
What's your role in the game of life? Baby, don't you know? Baby, don't you know? Are you entitled to the things that you got? And do you have enough? Do you have enough? Why don't you give up your idea of wealth and fame to make room for the things you say you want? But do you want it enough? Do you want it enough to make room? Make room. Come on, make room. Make room. Do you want it enough? Revolution, round and round we go. Do you want it enough?
Nice. I heard that strumming pattern through the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what song is this? Is this his song? Is this a new Saroon song? What's going on? I like it when I can just get a little audio glimpse.
Totally. Yeah, I was kind of fucking around with that strumming pattern, and then I got that initial line, I think, and then I was like, well, I'm just gonna lay down the strumming pattern. I just played something kind of at random and then just used that as the template for the song. Put down some bass. Like most of the instrumental parts, if you like take them apart, are very like fumbling around, clunky. There's lots of mistakes everywhere. But there's something about, I feel like, when you just kind of like just keep going, you can kind of just like create a groove out of all, it doesn't always like work all the way through, but it's like it's good enough for a demo to just keep it just rolling and keep the inspiration going. So yeah, I think I did all the instrumental stuff. It's just bass, and then tapped out some finger drums, those whatever those drums are, and then wrote all the words and sang them. I think I just did it kind of like verse by verse. I just kind of like had that first line, and I was like, what comes next? And then recorded something, then what comes next, and then recorded something. So like it just came together like piece by piece. Where the organ comes in at the end, I think was just like, I don't have anything more to say. Like it's enough, I felt weird. So then I just kind of like filled out the rest with the organ, which it felt like a bit of a cop out, but also it's fine.
I loved the organ.
Cool.
Do you have an organ?
No, it was just a little keyboard organ. I really like the
cool.
organ sound on there. Yeah, that kind of like shreddy soul organ thing. Yeah, I felt a little weird. Like this moment in time there's something that feels very hopeful about it, and there's a part of me that was having like a lot of trouble with the sincerity of like being like, this is a revolutionary time, but there's a part of me that is feeling like this is like the biggest social change that I've ever seen in my life, like around me, really. Never really imagined cops being potentially abolished in this country.
Right. I mean, and defunded, divested like bit by bit.
Yeah.
That's every little divestment from that is good news.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. There's something.
What if I was like, I don't agree? Like that'd be weird. A weird turn. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
So yeah, but it's interesting, like just noticing that in myself, that I was like, I'm not 100% comfortable letting myself believe that there's potential for this to actually change. I've had so much hope around revolutionary ideas all through my life that I've seen kind of be squashed by the dominant culture.
And just I can relate to that. Just feeling like, well, these are already my beliefs, but I'm in this little percentage of people out there who
mainstream now is talking about this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know I would know that you would not be a cop apologist or anything of that nature, Hannah, because I read your bio online and I wanted to applaud at it, even though I was sitting by myself in a room. And I was reading about your interest in radical intersectional feminism as it relates to anti-capitalism, which is just a whole lot of yes and agreement from over here.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have any writings anywhere online that people could access? I know it's hard to like book any dates for people to come see you perform at this moment, but are there places people can check out your work?
There's actually a virtual reading hosted by Literary Arts in like a week or two. It's like an Oregon Writers of Color Spring Showcase by Ooligan Press. So that's a virtual event, and I'll be reading something I wrote, which was actually, I wrote something about how I feel with dominant culture, like how that makes me feel. So
how would people
that's
be
pretty
able
relevant to now, I think.
How would people be able to find out about that?
They could probably see it on Literary Arts website.
Cool.
I have a bunch of zines, and I have like a couple left that I'm trying to sell for like donations and stuff, and people can check out my Instagram for that, which is Your Best American Girl. Your is you-are. It's a Mitski song reference. Yeah. Cool.
There's a record. I've got a record coming out this week too, if anybody wants to check that out. There's a Saroon record coming out. And did you have something that you want to shout out too, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, I am doing an ongoing songwriting auction. So if anyone's interested, you can just email me at heart2elk@gmail. It looks like heart2elk@gmail. And for different tiers, there's like $100 and a $200 one where you send me a screenshot that you donated to Black Lives Matter, and I will custom make a song, or I'm working on a few song parodies at the moment that people have commissioned. So yeah, it's just there's all kinds of stuff. Like I could make a song out of a poem that you've wrote. that you've written.
Yeah, great.
I've wrote a lot of poems, you can tell.
You're taking artistic license.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, like, I just want to put my songwriting skills out there for the movement, because I am not physically out in the streets as I'm social distancing at the moment. So yeah, everyone, I believe, should take advantage of whatever extra funds or time or skills you have to try to do something. So that's what we're doing here.
I was really inspired by that. We had a conversation, I think you mentioned maybe it's a Gary Francione idea of creative activism.
Yes, see, most of my activism has been around animal rights and abolitionist veganism, and that particular, I mean, the animal rights, I want to say industry, you know, the corporate welfare groups it's just a right mess, but there are pockets of it that are more about, which abolitionism, I would say, is a pocket that's really just about using creative, nonviolent.
For me, I was just inspired by how, like, just the idea of taking the skills that you have and figuring out how to, like, contribute those skills to the movement. There's ways that you uniquely can contribute that other people can't.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, there's something everyone can do. And if that's just signing petitions, then just sit your butt down and sign a bunch of petitions, send some letters, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this has been an ongoing discussion here at our place, and I'm hoping people will order more song parodies and songs and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really fun idea. I love that. Yeah, I feel like we have to show up with who we are, you know, and like we all have something to contribute. I've been so inspired by how creative people have been with the things that they're offering and raising money for. It's just really great. I feel like we need to, I think that's a shift that I've been seeing too, because I feel like before, I feel like I was seeing a lot of people trusting, like, you know, you give money to the ACLU, you give money like big organizations, and, you know, the ACLU is great, but it's really also inspiring to see so much like individual action of like me as an individual, as an artist, or like whatever I do, I can like find a way to make everything about the cause instead of just like, oh, I donate to the cause and then just live my life normally, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe a cultural shift is happening. Who knows?
Let's hope so, and let's keep working toward it, and let's all stay invested 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Or just ongoing for the foreseeable future. Because wins that we make for certain percentage of the population, everyone ultimately is going to be a lot better off if police are not allowed to enforce fascism, you know, openly. This stuff all sounds so obvious and crazy, but it's like I personally love like my bubble of people that I'm seeing people get political who have not really been in that arena very much in the past, and the momentum and, you know, the excitement of that really happening and opening up these discussions. And there's like just a sea of white bullshit along the way, but like gotta just keep going and talking about it and not be afraid to be wrong and adjust your opinion, you know. Really,
I feel like we need to integrate it into our, like, to what you're saying, into our daily lives, because I feel like sometimes people think about politics as a capital P, and so like people who weren't political before this, it's because they view it as like an arena of like a field or like something apart from them. But politics is not like politics, it's like our lives and our quality of life and the quality of life of our fellow human beings. And so yeah, I really hope that for the people who are just now becoming like political, it's like we should be like, that should be a part of our life, because I feel like sometimes there's a hesitation to even, like, I'm really glad you brought this up. It's like, I think there's a hesitation to bring it up in settings, you know, we're like, oh, we're just doing comedy, or we're just doing this, like, let's not get political. And it's like, politics, that's just our life. It's just life. It's not like a separate topic. And I think being able to consider it separate is just like a result of privilege, you know, being like, all my needs are taken care of. I don't have to worry about politics because I'm already represented in politics. My needs are already met through policy.
Yeah, or the idea that I personally didn't create this. It doesn't matter. You're in it. You're living in it. You're responsible for it because you're benefiting from it and all of that. So yeah, these ideas are important.
Yeah.
So moving along on our show, we like to have our guests pick the prompt for the next guest. If you're interested in picking the songwriting prompt topic,
so fun.
Yeah, you got a good one.
or bad one.
Yeah.
Anything that comes to mind.
What about like a protest song?
Protest song.
You know how that's like a genre, like
Sure.
Oh
it's
yeah.
like 60s like protest music. I think
Yeah.
that could be kind of fun.
Oh yeah. You
Cool.
don't have to twist our arms.
I feel like I just wrote one.
Protest.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Cool. Protest.
Great.
Well, thanks, Hannah. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing so many of your songs, your fresh new tunes. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really fun.
All right. Well, looks like that's it for today. We can bang on pots and pans.
And still kick out some honest jams.